Hey, I already watched this game and emailed you about it, but I wanted to quickly touch on the things that I mentioned in the email first. Um, you went and scouted for the Zerg, and you found him over here, and you checked whether he had gas in a pool. You saw gas in a pool with no hatchery, and so that means he's going to have ling speed by like 5 minutes and 15 seconds. So you have to do everything you want done before that time, before ling speed kicks in. And so now you're patrolling down here to prevent his hatchery, which I think is cool, and you're getting up your second racks, and that is all good. Your supply depot, you want to build the supply depot while this orbital is still morphing, because as soon as it's done, you're going to need to, do stuff. So right now, because you saw the gas in the pool already down, right now you got to get this low ground bunker up. Because your goal in TVP and TvZ, Protoss won't have his first stalker at your base until 5 minutes, and Zerg won't have his first lings at your base until 4.5 minutes at the earliest, and usually much later than that. And during that time, when you know he can't possibly have anything coming to your base, that's your free time. That's your I want to do something that's hard to do, so I'll do it now time. That's your secure a low ground bunker time, or your fast tech to banshees time, or your whatever. Uh, so I don't like seeing this command center on the high ground because of that. You had all this free time when he couldn't possibly put pressure on you, and that's when you want to get a bunker on the low ground and your command center on the low ground. I've done a lot of benchmarking of 2 racks fast expand into 4 racks marine builds, and the difference in how many marines you can get out by 10 minutes is pretty huge between building the command center on the high ground and building it on the low ground. I also, one of the biggest problems you had was build inefficiency, which means as I mentioned in my mineral drill, which you said you've already seen, is your first priority is always to keep your command center doing something. Like you saw for a little while it wasn't doing something, that's bad. Your second, actually the first priority is to keep your command center doing something, and part of that is making sure you're keeping up on supply depots. So SCVs and supply depots is first. Second is to use the buildings you have. So right now you have the ability to make 5 marines at a time, so you should always have 5 marines coming, always have 5 marines coming. And only once you've done those 2 things are you allowed to build, to progress with your production infrastructure, to move forward in your build and get this factory and get upgrades and all that kind of stuff. So I don't like seeing these engineering bays built before you have the money to support them, because they're just idle buildings. They're just wasted money. And I also don't like seeing this starport go down when your racks are idle. Like, why are you getting a starport if you can't use the buildings you already have? I also don't like seeing, over here you built 2 more racks. I don't like seeing 2 more racks when the racks that you have aren't being used. These reactor cores even, the amount of money you've been able to spend out of these racks is small enough that I think you could have probably gotten the same number of marines. Like, you've built 26 marines. I think you can get 26 marines out of 2 racks with no add-ons. So you didn't need the reactor cores either, and that's 200 bucks that's just kind of wasted. So I mentioned in the email, at the point of this attack, first of all, your defenses. You built a lot of buildings out of position that aren't doing anything. Like, these buildings are all... You needed to build them somewhere, so why not build them in a useful location? And this building as well, actually. So all of these buildings could have been used to make a wall in right here to put your bunkers behind, and to make a double wall in here. So, as Terran, you have to make the buildings anyway. You might as well make them useful. You might as well build them in position to be useful, in useful places. So yeah, I mentioned in the email, at the point of this attack, your opponent has spent $6,000 and you've spent $8,000. So you actually pulled more money out of the ground and spent it. So even though you have 1,000 unspent dollars in your bank, you still, of the money you did spend, you spent more than him. And the reason this attack did so well against you is because, as you can see, you spent all that money on stuff that wasn't useful in the attack. You only got 26 Marines. That's 28 Marines. That's only $1,400 worth of army spending. See, 1,400. So, if you're going to spend $8,000 and you're only going to spend 4,000 of it on economy, that means you should have 4,000 of it available to be spent on defense, on army, on bunkers, on upgrades that are completed and stuff like that. So you have uncompleted upgrade, uncompleted upgrade, unused factory, unused reactor core, unused reactor core, unused reactor core, unused racks, and unused factory. So all of those unused things add up to explain the deficit. That's why your opponent had so much bigger of an army than you, because everything he built he used, whereas you made a lot of stuff that you just didn't use. Also, Zerglings and Banelings. If you fight Marines against Zerglings and Banelings in a tightly packed ball like this, where the Zerglings get to surround you and the Banelings get to splash on you, it's definitely bad. You'll definitely just lose all fights like that. What makes you strong against Zerglings and Banelings is Wall-in, because obviously they're both melee range attackers. So if you make a wall-in and they can't get into melee range of you, then you win the fight automatically. So like I said, putting the buildings in the correct places is really important. You want to have wall-in, so that they can't get in and push you. It should have been obvious from the gas pool opener and the late expo from him that he wasn't going to try to compete with you economically. He had to attack you and kill you in order to win this game. So, especially in situations like that, it's really important to make sure every penny you spend is a penny that's useful in the battle. What else was I going to say? I think I said more stuff in the email that's useful, and that is all I have to say for it. So basically, bunch of idle buildings. You were short a little bit on SCVs, but you did really good just in general on keeping up with SCVs. I wanted to comment that your APM the entire game was very high. It's higher than mine. I think you have the hand speed to play this game and get really good at it. And remembering to keep up on SCVs, you did a good job with that. And keeping up with supply depots, you did a good job with that too. So I see the potential here for you to get really good at this, and you just gotta work on a couple of things. And that is all I wanted to say.